Like and subscribe to PalsFundamentals on YouTube for more videos like this. Sources linked below. Welcome. This is our North Atlantic Regional News Report. We're bringing you some quick updates today on politics and economics from Greenland, Iceland, and Shetland. And then we'll take a closer look at the Faroe Islands.
Yeah, quite a mix today. We've got everything from, well, a slightly strange social media situation in Greenland to economic news and a pretty significant security summit happening.
Okay, let's dive right in then, starting with Greenland. There's been a bit of a buzz about this Facebook page.
Right, Nipit Pingarudakorpak.
Which means your voice is important. It popped up around May 3rd.
That's it. Ran 3 paid posts asking Greenlanders about Pituffik, U.S.-Greenland cooperation, and the relationship with Denmark.
And people there suspect it might be some kind of U.S. influence campaign. But there's no actual proof.
No proof. And interestingly, an expert who studies Russian influence campaigns, a PhD student named Christian Santos Okholm, he apparently called it amateurish. Yeah. He pointed to a past U.S. disinformation campaign in the Philippines about Chinese vaccines, suggesting this Greenland thing doesn't quite fit that mold.
And the timing is interesting too, right? Coinciding with that Wall Street Journal report about more U.S. intelligence gathering in Greenland.
Exactly. So theories are flying. Could it be a clumsy U.S. attempt? Or maybe Russia or China trying to stir things up and make the U.S. look bad?
Or even U.S. intelligence officials unhappy with Trump trying to sabotage an operation. That was another theory mentioned.
It was. And Okholm also flagged how easy it is now with AI and large language models to analyze Greenlandic news and discussions online. So tracking this stuff is, well, it's different now.
Okay, shifting gears slightly within Greenland. Fuel prices. They went up today.
Yes, KNI, the state-owned company, raised them. They're citing higher purchase prices.
The gasoline is up to 5.85 DKK, a liter from 5.0.
And diesel's gone from 5.15 to 6.800 DKK. Petroleum also up about 0.85 DKK per liter.
The last increase was April last year, wasn't it? About 0.60 DKK then.
Correct. KNI apparently used profits to keep prices down before, but they're not saying how much that cost them.
And just for context, how does that compare?
Well,
like in the Faroes?
Well, it's much higher there currently. Gasoline is, I think, 11.1 of DKK a liter, and diesel 10.04 DKK. So quite a difference.
Wow, okay. Also in Greenland, some social issues. The Council of Europe's Committee for the Prevention of Torture raised concerns about overcrowding at the prison in Nuuk.
Yeah, the new institution, it only opened in 2019, designed for 76 inmates, but now they're doubling up in single cells.
And Aja Chemnitz, the Greenlandic MP, mentioned a specific case, an assault.
She did. A younger inmate assaulting an older one because they were forced into the same cell. There's also an issue with sentenced inmates sometimes being housed with detainees, which could infringe on rights.
But the committee did say conditions were generally good otherwise, activities and such.
Yes, they acknowledged that, but strongly recommended increasing alternative measures to incarceration. You know, Denmark runs the justice system there.
And the Danish Justice Minister, Peter Hummelgaard, he's aware of the capacity problems.
He is. Apparently, it's an issue in both Denmark and Greenland. They're planning to address Greenland's prison capacity in upcoming criminal reform, working with the Naalakkersuisut, the Greenlandic parliament.
Right. Now, internationally, Greenland, along with the Faroes and Denmark, just took over the Arctic Council chairmanship.
That's right, until 2027. And Greenland's got the lead role, the senior Arctic official chair, Kenneth Hugh.
While the Faroes have the deputy chair.
Gunvor Ball, yes. Denmark chairs the joint delegation.
And the Faroes' foreign minister, Siri Stenberg, sees this as a real opportunity, especially for highlighting their marine research.
Definitely. It gives the smaller nations a significant platform in Arctic affairs.
And just one last little bit on Greenland, a description of Upernavik in the northwest.
Yeah, from a Faroes perspective, apparently. Described as this adventurer's paradise, kayaking, boating, dog sledding, lots of wildlife, seabirds, seals, whales, even polar bears sometimes.
Sounds amazing. Hunting and fishing are key parts of life there.
Very much so. Cod, Greenland halibut, kingfish, ice fishing in winter. It's a community of about 1,000 people on the main island, with more in nearby settlements.
Okay, let's move across to Iceland. A big police operation on Sturlunsvögr.
Yeah, quite significant. Outside the capital. Involved 3 police departments, the road administration, even the tax administration.
What were they looking for?
They were focusing on buses and trucks, checking vehicle condition, driving and rest time rules, dangerous goods transport, size, weight, the works.
The chief of police called it the largest operation of its kind.
He did. John Ollison said it was an extensive project. No single trigger, just a large-scale check. They looked at about 100 vehicles.
And any results?
2 vehicles were impounded. Several others were flagged for inspection due to their condition. And numerous violations of rest period rules were found.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one driver apparently had 14 violations in just 28 days. The plan is to do these big checks several times a year now.
Okay. Also in Iceland, sadly, a body was discovered.
Yes, found in the sea between the islands of NJ and Vigri yesterday evening. The police were alerted around 9 p.m. by the people who found it. And
are they saying anything more?
Not much yet. They're working on identification and figuring out how the person ended up in the water, keeping details close for now.
Understood. On the economic front in Iceland, the sale of the state's stake in Íslandsbanki.
That kicked off today. An auction for the government's 20% share started at 8:30 this morning.
And the public gets priority over big investors.
That's the plan. The Minister of Finance, Dadi Mar Kristofferson, encouraged people to participate. He called Icelandic banks, quote, among the safest investments available.
How much are they expecting to raise?
Around 40 billion Icelandic krona for the state treasury. The bidding is set to end Thursday afternoon, depending on demand.
Any plans to sell shares in other banks?
No, they said no plans for that currently.
Okay. And something a bit lighter from Iceland. The popularity of a Faroes cooking show.
Ah, yes. Foitar Grey. It translates as Faroes delicacies in Iceland. Fareskar Krasier? Apparently, it's a huge hit.
People find it entertainingly chaotic.
That's the description. And some are calling it the best cooking show they've seen. Iceland's national broadcaster, RÚV, has aired it multiple times and snapped up the new episodes, including the Christmas specials.
So more episodes are coming for Icelandic viewers.
Yes, they'll be translated and shown in the autumn. There was a funny story about Jugvan Hansen, a Faroes singer in Iceland.
Oh.
He joked he's constantly asked about the chefs, Trondr Vatnomar, Jonfinn Stenberg, and Kari Solstein, and wishes he could cook with them. Someone even gave him puffin breasts on Lundy Island to pass on to the chefs.
That's great. The creators must be pleased.
They are. Hope Icelanders enjoy the new stuff, too.
Now, touching on security again, Iceland's Prime Minister, Kristrún Frostadóttir, was at that meeting in the Faroes we mentioned.
Yes, the North Atlantic Summit. She really emphasized the need for Iceland and the Faroes to discuss their own defense and security policies.
Her point being, if they don't, bigger powers will decide for them.
Pretty much. She highlighted the big shifts in global politics and the need for regular communication. She didn't want to cause alarm, she said, but stressed being aware of global changes, sort of echoing that phrase, nothing about us without us.
Makes sense. Okay, let's hop over to Shetland now. Some heroic police work reported in Lerwick.
Yes, officers saved a life. They responded to a call about a possible drug overdose.
What happened?
Sergeant Tony Anderson had to force entry, found a man unresponsive, signs of drug use. 2 other officers, PCs Reese Thorne and Brian Goodman, started CPR immediately.
How long did they do CPR?
For 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, another officer, PC Rowan Campbell, administered naloxone, 7 doses.
7 doses? Wow.
Paramedics arrived, found a pulse. The man was taken to hospital.
That's incredible teamwork.
Absolutely. The Shetland area commander, Chris Sewell, praised their quick thinking, called it a textbook example of frontline policing. He also mentioned Police Scotland's commitment to tackling drugs through both enforcement and public health, including using naloxone.
And the man who overdosed?
He was discharged from hospital the next day and is getting ongoing support from the NHS, so a good outcome there.
Definitely. Also relevant to Shetland, but broader Scottish politics, the assisted dying bill.
Right. The Scottish Parliament is debating that tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon, MSPs get a free vote.
This comes after some medical experts raised concerns a few months back.
That's right. 25 experts, including a consultant surgeon, Stuart Ferguson, they called legalizing assisted dying for the terminally ill an appalling shift.
Ferguson specifically said it would make helping people kill themselves part of his job.
Yes, one of his statutory duties, as he put it. The bill itself was brought forward by the Orkney MSP, Liam MacArthur. There's a similar bill moving through Westminster, too, by MP Kin Leadbeater.
What's the feeling locally in Shetland, do we know?
Well, a Shetland Times poll back in February found 58% of respondents were against introducing assisted dying, so definitely divided opinion.
Okay, thanks for that. Now let's focus on our final stop, the Faroe Islands. That North Atlantic Security Summit was held in Tórshavn on Monday.
It was. 4 government leaders were there in person. Mette Frederiksen from Denmark, Axel V. Johannesson from the Faroes, Jens Fredrik Nielsen, the chairman of Nalakersuset from Greenland, and Kristrún Frostadóttir from Iceland.
And the Norwegian PM joined virtually.
Yes, Jonas Gahr Støre. This meeting seems to follow on from other recent talks, like a security conference in Munich the Faroes PM attended. There's clearly a push for closer cooperation on security.
So the aim is better communication, cooperation, sharing knowledge on security in the North Atlantic and Arctic.
Exactly. Mette Frederiksen really stressed the meeting's importance because of the current security climate. The Arctic and North Atlantic are potentially becoming more contested areas.
Because of U.S. interest in Greenland, Russia, China?
Precisely. Major power dynamics playing out there.
And Frederiksen spoke quite directly about the Russian threat on arrival.
She did. Said the timing and location were deliberate because of the situation, also in this part of the world. She emphasized needing all three parts of the Danish realm, Denmark, Faroes, Greenland, talking with Norway and Iceland. She called it a kind of eco-security council.
An eco-security council, interesting phrase.
Yeah, and she described the threat from Russia as very real, pointing to Ukraine, obviously, but also Russia's efforts to destabilize societies elsewhere.
Through what means?
Cyber attacks, hybrid attacks, sabotage of critical infrastructure, election interference, trying to disrupt democracies. She also mentioned the uncertainty created by changes in U.S. behavior.
So a complex picture.
Very. She said the world feels more insecure than at any time in her life, and that needs addressing in the North Atlantic and Arctic. Of course, NATO is technically responsible for security there, and all 5 countries involved are members.
Has she discussed this with Canada, too?
Yes, she mentioned discussing shared responsibility for North Atlantic security with the new Canadian leader as well.
Okay. Shifting to domestic Faroes issues now. There's a public meeting about pension offsets.
Yes, happening Wednesday evening in Luxeuil, Runavik. Organized by Samhold, which is the Union Party's local association in Eysturoy. The title is Vek via Motrokningini, Away with the Offset.
This is the issue where pensioners lose part of their state pension if they earn income from working.
Right, exactly. It's been debated for years. An economist, Johnny Grottenum, the CEO of Bakkafrost, Regin Jacobson, and a former district governor, Jens Jensen, will be speaking.
So they'll be discussing fairness, necessity, consequences of potentially removing that offset.
That's the plan. Proposals to get rid of it have been put to the Lagting, the Faroes parliament, several times before. There are about 9,000 people aged 67 or older in the Faroes, so it affects a significant group.
And related to pensions, there was a reader's letter opposing raising the pension age.
Yes, from Mary Enton's daughter, who chairs the Faroes Healthcare Workers Association. They're against the current plan to raise the pension age eventually to 70 by 2035.
What's their alternative suggestion?
They propose raising the retirement age instead, allowing people who are able and willing to work longer to do so, but keeping the pension age as is.
Their argument being that just living longer doesn't mean people are healthy enough to work longer.
Correct. They point to issues like rising obesity, inactivity, unhealthy diets, lifestyle diseases. They also critique the idea of differentiating pension terms based on when someone started work, saying the 50-year work requirement is too high.
And they oppose time-limited pensions based on early retirement pay.
Strongly oppose it. That pay is around 12,275 DKK before tax, which they feel is inadequate. Their proposal is basically, if you can retire at 66, you should get your regular pension, access your savings, your supplementary pension, AMU, and the national pension.
Okay. Let's look at Faroes demographics. Population growth.
Still growing, but slowing down a bit. The population put almost 54,850 on April 1st. That's a 0.6% increase over the last 12 months, about 311 people.
Slower than before.
Yeah, the growth peaked back in summer 2019 at around 1.8%. This recent growth is split pretty evenly between birth surpluses, more births than deaths. That was 149 people.
And net immigration.
That was 162 people. But net immigration has decreased compared to the previous year, mainly because fewer people moved to the Faroes, even though immigration also fell slightly.
Where's the growth happening mostly?
Tórshavn municipality saw the biggest jump. Ness, Sjóvar, and Skálavík municipalities also grew.
And where did the population decline?
Most significantly in Vágs, Tverøyar, and Víðir municipalities down south and up north.
Got it. Marine news now. Herring surveys.
Yes, the Faroes Marine Research Institute, Hafstavaen, reported results from surveys north of the Faroes. They found some herring, but mostly out in international waters.
Not much in Faroes waters or towards Iceland.
Very little there, apparently. Over half the herring caught were from the 2016 year class. The biggest fish were found further west.
Any other species?
Blue whiting, but only in the eastern part of the survey area where the water's warmer. Mostly 3- and 4-year-olds, with some younger ones too.
This was part of a bigger international effort.
Yes, a joint survey under ICS, involving the Faroes, Norway, Iceland, the UK, and Denmark. The final combined results should be out around mid-June.
Okay. And still in the Faroes, a big Arctic research workshop started.
It did. Arctic Science in Action at the University of the Faroe Islands in Tórshavn. About 65 researchers from the Faroes, Greenland, and Denmark.
What's the goal?
To develop more interdisciplinary research and collaboration. They've got presentations, discussions, group work, even visits planned to places like Bakkafrost, the power company SEV, and the Sornfelli radar station.
Sounds comprehensive. There's a panel on funding, too.
Yes, with representatives from the research councils in Denmark, Faroes, and Greenland. The organizers are stressing the need for new approaches to Arctic research and education.
The university rector, Martin Trivade Zakarason, highlighted some relevant Faroes research.
He did. Things like immigrant integration, finding it's not always easy. Security and geopolitics in the North Atlantic, balancing interests like fisheries with bigger power dynamics. Also, Faroes history and archaeology.
Oh, anything new there?
He mentioned new evidence suggesting settlement even before 300 AD. And of course, environmental research. He argued the Faroes are well-placed for Arctic research due to accessibility and infrastructure.
And he tied it back to the Arctic Council chairmanship as well.
Yes, underlining the significance of Greenland, the Faroes, and Denmark taking the helm together, with Greenland leading and the Faroes as vice chair. Siri Stenberg, the foreign minister, again calling it a key opportunity.
Right. And just one final quick note from the Faroes. A message related to Eurovision.
Yes, very brief. A message from Raphael, who represented Israel, just thanking the people of the Faroe Islands for their incredible love and support and asking for votes, ended with, "I love you guys."
Okay, so quite a range of news items covered there.
Definitely. It really shows the interconnectedness of the whole North Atlantic region, doesn't it? Security, economics, research, even cultural things like cooking shows.
Absolutely. A lot happening across these islands. Like and subscribe to PalsFundamentals on YouTube for more videos like this. Sources linked below.